Okay, guys. So if meeting ends, please join back again after 40 minutes if it ends. Okay. Now, uh, let's revise. Okay, what we have covered in the yesterday's class. So yesterday we understood what is the difference between a storage account and a blob storage account and a data lake storage. So in data lake storage, you can create a directory inside a container, which you cannot do in the blob storage, right? And what are the other difference? Who will tell? Vinod, can you tell what are the other difference are there in the data lake storage and the blob storage? Anybody who is here want to tell? Vinod, Sakshi, Sakshi, I don't want to. Yeah, Sakshi, you already given the answer yesterday, so yeah, so please you don't give the answer. Beside you, who wants to give this answer? What is the difference between a data lake storage and a blob storage? Who has done the revision? Nobody has done the revision. Okay, fine. So, what is the difference between a data lake storage and a blob storage? In data lake storage, you can create a directory inside a container. You can create a directory inside a container, and also you can manage ACL, access control list. And data lake Gen 2 is a futuristic solution. Blob storage is a older solution. Okay, that is what we have covered, right? Then we made a data in data factory. We made a integration runtime and we made a link service, right? And we understood there are three kinds of integration runtime in data factory. One is self-hosted integration runtime. Second, Azure default integration runtime. Third is SSIS integration runtime, right? Default integration runtime we will use to connect with any of the cloud service. Self-hosted integration runtime we will use to connect with any any of the on-premise service, right? And then SSIS integration runtime we use to connect with to import SSIS packages. And also we understood how to make a link service. Then I have given a homework to install MS SQL Server, make link service for blob storage, make link service for MS SQL, make link service for MySQL. That was the homework. Who has done the homework? Okay, nobody has done the homework.
Am I?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. No, I had
Okay.
some network issue, so
Yeah, no
it's
problem.
keep on disconnecting and connecting there.
Now I am asking a question. Please answer this question. If I have MS SQL, if I have MySQL, I want to connect, I want to move the data using ADF to Azure Data Lake. Azure Data Lake. How to do this, guys? Can you help me to understand this?
So we have to create a self-hosted integration, which needs to talk to MS SQL and MySQL. We can create one SHIR
Hmm.
because we are the both are in the same system, right? My MS SQL and MySQL.
Yes.
Okay, in that case, we can go for only one SHIR and one SHIR and one default integration service and two link service.
Yeah, so one SHIR we will install here. Then we'll make two link service for MS SQL and a MySQL, and then one link service for data lake using auto resolved integration runtime. So two
Right.
integration runtime, one auto resolved integration runtime, one self-hosted integration runtime, and three link service. One for this, and one for data lake. Right? Okay, fine, guys. So please practice it. Please try to do it. Okay, if I am only doing, then I am only improving myself. I am getting better. You guys are not getting better. So please try to improve it. Okay. Please try to practice it, whatever we are doing. Okay. So that, and suppose if you keep the backlog of 4 to 5 hours, then it will be very difficult to go back and then revise everything. So after every class, try to practice it and try to make notes. because after 7 to 8 class it will be very difficult for you guys to listen to recording for revision. Okay, nowadays we cannot listen to 15 hours of videos. It's very difficult to listen to 1 hour of complete technical recording and do the revision. Okay, so try to make notes, try to practice it, and try to do the homework without watching the recording. Okay, and also don't play the recording in the side and try to copy what I'm trying to do, because it will not help. Okay, so after that is why I write homework always. So after the class I always write the homework, okay, and send you the homework, so that you can read the homework and then do it, because you have already invested 1 hour of the class, right? Don't again watch the recording for 1 hour and then try to do the homework. Do the homework only and only if you are basically stuck somewhere. Okay, do watch the recording if you're stuck somewhere, only in that case. Now what we will do, we will understand how to make the pipeline. In today's class we'll understand how to make the pipeline. Okay, so I am opening data factory now, and let me open this ADF. Now whenever we design the pipeline, there are three main characteristic which we need to understand. Okay, three more main property which we need to understand. One is pipeline, second is data set. Second is data set. There is no data set over here. So second is data set. Third is activity. Okay. So when we design pipeline, suppose I am designing a pipeline in which what I want to do, I want to do very simple task. There is a storage account. And I am making a container here, input container, and output container. I'm uploading some files here. Now I'm doing a very simple task. I am trying to move the file from this input container to this output container. Okay. I will pick one file and then move it. This is a simple task I am doing. Okay. So here currently my source is also data lake. My sink is also data lake. A different input container, different output container. For this particular scenario, how many integration runtime and how many link service I need? Data lake to data lake only. I'm moving input to output. Okay. How many integration runtime? How many link service I need?
So one default integration itself is
Yeah, one
enough,
default integration runtime, one link service is
and
basically
one link
needed.
service.
Yes, yes, you're right. So what we will do a simple copy in which we will basically move the data from one container to another container. Okay, for that, let's make a link service first of all. So I already have a link service for my data lake edu ellipse. This is a link service which I have. Okay. So now what I will do, I will create a pipeline. Okay. I will create a pipeline. I will delete everything from here. I will create a simple pipeline. and this is the pipeline name which I am giving, right? PL data lake input to output. Always your pipeline name should be in the descriptive manner. Okay, it should basically give, from looking at the pipeline name, we should be able to understand what is the agenda of this pipeline. Okay, so your pipeline should always be very descriptive. Okay, I will send a particular document link in which you will understand what is the best naming convention to name the pipeline. I will send in the group chat. One second, let me send now itself if I find, yeah, this link. Uh, yeah. So this is the naming convention. Always follow the naming convention. Okay. So here, from here, you can rename the pipeline. If you click over here, you can rename the pipeline. Okay. So from here, I renamed the pipeline. Now I will paste the activity. This is the activity. This is the pipeline. This is the activity. We are pasting one activity. Why we are pasting copy data activity? Because we want to copy the file from one place to another. If you want to rename the copy data activity, that also you can do. Okay. Now source. I am defining my source. Suppose this is my data lake source. Okay. Data lake storage. CSV file. Department. Data lake. Link services. This link service. I am selecting my department file here. First row as a header, import schema as none. We will always select first row as a header, import schema as none. I will tell going forward why, basically, like in which case we will not do import schema, like in which case we will select from connection store. But always for now we will select connection import schema as none, right? First row as a header, we are saying in the file the first row is a header. That is what we are saying. Okay. Import schema as none. Click OK. So if you see, we created one data set right now. Whatever is in circle over here, it is under development. We are developing it right now. Okay. So we created one data set. In the data set, we mentioned which file we want to move. Okay. When you make a connection to that particular source, ADF is able to connect to that source, but still you need to tell ADF which file to pick in, right? So suppose if you want to move your luggage from point A to point B, you can give the address of point A, but you also need to mention which person is desired for that luggage, which flat we need to go into, right? So similar to that, you have an address to that source, but still you need to tell which file to pick in, and data set is for that. Date, what is data set? Data set is a reference point of where your data is located. From the name, people get confused that data set will basically carry, ADF will copy the data into the data set. Nothing will happen, like nothing will this will not happen. Data set will is just a reference point of your data, nothing beside that. Okay. So here you have mentioned, if you open data set, here you have mentioned which data to pick in. Okay, that is what you have mentioned. Now this is the pipeline. In this tab you can see the pipeline. This is the tab, if you click you can see data set. Okay. Pipeline, copy data activity. If you open this, this is data set. Okay. Pipeline activity. If I click onto this, this all are copy data activity setting. If I open this, this is the data set setting, right? Pipeline, copy data activity setting, data set setting. Simple, right? Similarly, I will do the sync. I will go to the sync. I will click new. I will select data lake. Select CSV file. Department data lake sync link services this. Oh, sorry, link services this. Okay. I want to move here, I am selecting the output container. But if you want to move to a different container, that also you can write directly. Suppose if you want to move to output 2, that also you can write. Data factory will create a new container for you and then move the file, right? Suppose this directory is not there. I'm creating it from ADF, and then I will write my department.csv file name. First row as a header, import schema as none. Now this is the second data set. If you see two data set, one pipeline, copy data activity. Okay. Now we can debug it. Debug means we are testing whether our pipeline is functioning fine or not. Debug means that. Okay. We are testing it, right? Validate means we are checking every settings are fine or not. Okay. So if you don't, like suppose if I don't give any data set here, right? If I don't give any data set, if I validate, it will throw error. It will say that your source doesn't have any data set. So you need to attach a data set in that case. Okay. Pipeline, two data set, one copy data activity. Okay. Now I'm debugging it. Debug means we are testing whether our pipeline is functioning fine or not. Okay. And we are debugging it. Okay. This is successful. Now we check whether file got moved. We will go to output container folder department.csv, right? This is how you can move the file from the source to sync. Okay. From source to sync. Any doubt on this, guys? Simple movement, simple. We haven't done any like here and there some changes. Simple movement, source to sync.
No issue. All
Okay. Okay, fine. Now, now what we will do? Now, basically, these are the three elements, right? Pipeline, data set, and activity. Now I will try to open a slide in which there are three kinds of activity. Okay, this is also an important interview question that people can ask you, how many types of activities are there? There is a data movement activity. In data movement activity, you have many, like this copy data activity is activity which is an important data movement activity. Only one activity is there. Data movement activity means copy data activity. Data transformation activity, which helps you to transform the data, means add a column, remove a column. Okay, change data type in a data table. Data transformation activity. Then you have a control flow activity, means any sort of logical operation, means control flow activity. Okay, let me show you that. So there are three kinds of activity: data movement activity, data transformation activity, and control flow activity. Okay. Data set, pipeline, activity. Okay, so three main building blocks of ADF. Data movement activity, you can understand all of these like copy data activity. In copy data activity also, one more important thing is, in copy data activity, every source and every sync is not possible. Okay, so suppose if somebody says that Abhishek, I want to move the data from MySQL to Azure cloud, yes, you can do it. And suppose now somebody says that Abhishek, I want to move the data from cloud to MySQL, you cannot do it, right? So all the source and all the sync is not supported. So this link you can keep. If somebody is asking you, suppose if I select MySQL over here, right? MySQL is supported as a source, but not supported as a sync. What does it mean? If I go over here, if I click new, if I select MySQL, source is coming over here. So you can make a link service, connect to MySQL, select MySQL as a source. But if I go over here, if I click new, if I select MySQL over here, it will not come. Sync as a MySQL is not possible. Okay. So every source, every connector is like Azure has tried to like give you all the connectors, but all the like mostly all the connector, but every kind of a source is not possible. Okay, so you can keep this link handy. Now, second activity is data transformation activity. Now, one more thing which I am giving you as a homework. So if I go to Azure Blob Storage, okay, and if you pay attention, supported by Azure IR means Azure Integration Runtime. Supported by self-hosted integration runtime also has a tick mark. Now, whatever we have learned is wrong, right? So we basically said self-hosted integration runtime we use for cloud server, but how Azure Blob Storage is also supported by self-hosted integration runtime? This is a homework for you guys. Okay, so try to use self-hosted integration runtime to connect with Azure Data Lake. Okay, and if you're able to connect, then let me know. Okay, and if not, then also let me know. If you're able to connect, then search about it, read about it, and then let me know. Okay, this is a homework for you guys, right? Now let's go. Let's move forward. Data transformation activity are the activity which helps you to transform the data. Control flow activity. What is control flow activity? Which like you can do any sort of logical operation. Suppose there is a copy data activity. Now somebody says that I don't want to move only one file. I want to move 5 files. I want to move 6 files. I want to move 10 files. In that case, you need to do the for each of the copy data activity, right? You need to do the for each of copy data activity. Then you need a for each activity. So that comes under a control flow activity. So in interview, sometimes people can directly ask you what is control flow activity. Okay, so you might not remember it, so try to just remember this control flow activity means logic lookup activity and until activity, wait activity, for each activity all comes under control flow activity. So there are three types of activity: data movement activity, data transformation activity, and control flow activity. What is pipeline? Pipeline basically is a complete end-to-end operation what you want to do. Data set is a reference point of where your data is located. Okay, now if I just refresh this whole space, right, if I just refresh the whole space, everything will be gone. So this pipeline, this data set, everything will be gone. Okay, so before now if I like once your changes are finalized, you need to publish it. If you don't publish it, everything will be gone. Okay, so just publish your changes. If you don't publish it, then you will lose your pipelines. Okay, and also you can only publish if it is a proper setting. Okay, then only you can publish it. So proper setting means if you are missing somewhere, if validation is failed, then you cannot publish. Just publish all the pipeline, published complete. Okay, so this is published. Now if I refresh it, then also I can see my data pipelines, right? If I refresh it, if I close it, come back tomorrow, then also I can see it. Okay, now suppose if I create a pipeline here and I miss to publish it, right? If I refresh it, then my this change will be gone. Pipeline one will be gone. Okay. Now we will basically now copy data activity is a very, very important activity in all the pipeline. Almost like 100% of the pipeline you will be using a copy data activity, because this is a main activity to copy the data, right? So we will understand the copy data activity in a more detailed fashion now. Okay, detailed fashion means we'll understand what is source, what is sync, what are the different settings present here. If I go over here, what are the this setting? If I go over here, all of these settings will understand one by one. What is user property, what is mapping, all the settings will understand one by one. Okay, now let's first of all understand this source. Okay, so if you see, if you closely see, in the source also I have selected data lake, in the sync also I have selected data lake, right? Both of the places I have selected data lake, but still settings are different in both of the places, right? So if you choose a same kind of source in source and sync, your setting is different. Okay, so in source and sync your setting will be different. Okay, and also the kind of source, if I select SQL over here, if I select SQL over here, my settings will be different over here. Okay, this setting will change. So copy data activity setting depends on the kind of source and kind of sync you are choosing. Okay, and whether that source is chosen as a source or a sync, that depends on that, right? Now in the general tab, if I go to general tab, here I can name it, here I can write the description, here I can deactivate the activity as well. So I can directly deactivate from here. What does deactivate means? So suppose if you have multiple copy data activity, right? If I copy paste, you can copy paste as well. I copy pasted it, I activated it, right? So now suppose if you have two copy data activity, you want to deactivate this and activate this, that is possible. Okay, so you can just deactivate one activity, activate another activity, that is possible. Okay, and from there you can do it. You can right click or also activate it, right? What is this timeout error? Timeout error means, like, suppose you are developing this particular pipeline. Okay, you are trying to develop this pipeline, and when you are developing this pipeline, you notice that this copy data activity generally takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes to run, for example, right? So you can set this timeout error as 20 minutes. So if it is taking more than 20 minutes, then it should throw a timeout error because there is some abnormality. Okay, so you can use this timeout error like that. So you can just set it, so by default it's 12 hours, but you can change it to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes while development. Whenever you notice that it basically takes 10 minutes to run the pipeline, you can basically change this copy data activity setting. You can set it to 20, like suppose if it takes 5 minutes to run the pipeline, then you can set it to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it will basically fail if it is taking more than that. And when, in which case it will be useful. So suppose you are developing your suppose when you are pulling the data from SQL server, for example, right? And sometimes in the SQL server your query got hanged, so it will be keep on running for a complete day. Okay, which you don't want. So in that case, basically you can throw a timeout error. Okay, in that case. Now if it is a timeout error, then how many times it needs to retry, and in which interval it needs to retry, you can mention like that. Okay, so retry for 5 times, and then retry in every 30 seconds, that you can mention over here. Okay, now what is this mapping feature? Let's go to the mapping feature, and I will tell you the scenario. So import schema. Now suppose when I am moving the data from input to output container, when I'm moving the data from input to output container, what I want to do, I want to basically interchange the column. I want to make name as first column, department ID as second column. Okay, that is what I want to make. Name as first column and department ID as second column. So here I can just interchange it. I can make name as first column and department ID as second column. if I run this pipeline now, in the sync, you will see name as first column and department ID as a second column if you run this pipeline now. So suppose if you have 300 column in the source and you want to interchange the column, you want to make last column as first column, those changes if you want to make, you can basically do that. Right? So if I go over here, now if I go to the output container, see, now name became first column, department is become second column, right? So you can interchange the column. Now, if you want to delete the column, that also you can do. So suppose there is 300 columns and you don't want certain columns, right? So suppose if I don't want name column, I can delete it directly from here and debug it. Now, if I go over here, if I refresh this, now see, your one column gone, right? Your only this column is present. So you can either interchange the column or you can delete the column. This is how you can do it. Okay. Also in the mapping feature, you can do the data type conversion as well if you want to. Date conversion, date for time format conversion. Okay, data type conversion also you can do in the mapping feature. This also is possible. Okay, so you can basically convert the date time. I also haven't worked, like I haven't used this feature to convert the date time. I use data flows to convert the date time, but this also is newly added and can be used to convert the date time. Okay, any confusion on this mapping feature, right, guys?
Abhishek, is it possible to change the data type here?
Yes, it is possible, like not string to varchar and all of that, but date time conversion can be done.
Okay, if you drop, I mean, if you go down, so if you scroll down, like, like at the bottom, you have this department ID type, right? So here we cannot change the type,
No, no, no,
right? Okay.
no.
One doubt, in that source option, can we like, will that retry work only for the timeout error or for any kind of error?
Come again.
Uh, I think in the source it is, there is a retry and retry interval, right?
Yeah.
Under source, yeah. So this retry will work only if a timeout error happens or if the
Yeah.
activity fails.
Only when the timeout error happens. So when the timeout error happens, it needs to retry, and it needs to retry in which interval. How many times it needs to retry and in which interval?
So if that activity fails, it won't.
No, no, no. So
Uh,
if
uh,
this
uh,
activity fails without a timeout error, it will not retry.
okay.
Okay. Number of retry attempts if it is a timeout error, if it is failed due to timeout error. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So let's go to list of file. When this list of file will be used. Okay, so list of file will be used. So suppose if I have list, like suppose here, from here, I want to move department.csv, department1.csv, and suppose department.csv and department1.csv employed. Only these two file I want to move, right? I don't want to move anything else. Or suppose I want to move department.csv and employee.csv only. So for that, I need to create a list over here. Suppose I want to move only this file, right? These two file. I have created a list. I am uploading a list. Okay. Now here I will browse that list which I have created. Okay. And I will clear everything. So there won't be any mapping now because like I am moving two files. So this mapping is not related now. Also, I will not write any source name because I want to move two files. So this source name also doesn't make any sense. In the sync also, I will not write any name because this also doesn't make any sense. Here I will write list of file because I want to basically segregate what I'm moving now. List of file. Now if I run it, it basically create a new container and then move these two files which I have mentioned. Okay, done. Now if I go over here, if I go to output container, list of file and these two file. Okay, these two file only got moved now, right? So this is how you can use list of file. Also, one more thing, guys, this meeting will end right now because my Zoom subscription got expired. Okay, so better to connect tomorrow because again I need to upload a second recording for it. I will update my Zoom subscription, then we'll connect for longer hour for tomorrow, right? So, but as a homework, what you guys need to try here, you we can add an additional column as well, right? So here, if you want to add an additional column in your file, suppose in the file I want to add one more column having file name. Okay, that is also possible over here. You just write additional column here and then through the mapping you can add it. Okay, I'm not teaching you right now, but try this option. Okay, so beside this, like what we have learned today, we basically understand what is dataset pipeline and activity. Then we understood mapping feature. Then we understood list of file. And as a homework, you need to do additional column thing that I will write and send in the group. And that's all for today, I feel, because this meeting will end now. We will connect tomorrow for longer hours. My Zoom subscription got expired. Okay. Now, if you have any doubt, let's discuss that also tomorrow because I cannot continue now, right? Thank you so much, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thanks, Abhishek.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye.